This album, Unforgettable Fire, by the way, fabulous album, as I'm sure you know. You decided to go with different producers this time, with Brian Eno and a Canadian, Dan Lanois, which we're very proud of. Why the decision to switch?
Well, in fact, we hadn't intended originally using Steve Lillywhite for the second and third albums, but touring being so time-consuming, we actually came off our last tours, the Boy Tour and the October Tour, and we honestly felt that to change producers at that late stage would have been disastrous for those two LPs. So on two occasions we called Steve in and we asked him if he would produce the album for us, and he agreed. After doing 3 albums with Steve, we were absolutely determined, in order to maintain our own stimulation and, you know, the creative thing really turning over, that we should start looking at different studios, different producers, and changing those things that do affect our work, that are changeable. Obviously the musicians are the band members, they're not changeable, but producers were. And we looked at various different people. I think there was probably about half a dozen producers that we were talking to and discussing within the group. And originally we were not really aware of Danny, but Brian's name came up quite a lot. And then consulting with Brian, he introduced us to Danny, and we quickly discovered that there was a very healthy rapport between the band and both Danny and Brian. And having talked to the two at length, we finally decided to offer them the album, and they agreed, so we were very pleased. The sort of stability within the group has been that way for quite a few years. Before we were a band with a recording deal, while we were still playing little bars around Dublin, our goals as a group have always been creative ones, never commercial ones. And I think because of that, the whole basis of the band is far more stable than a lot of groups. I mean, we haven't achieved our goals at this stage. I don't think we probably ever will. But as I can't remember who said it, but it's not arriving that's important, it's the footsteps to arriving that's important. And that's certainly the way this band operates, you know. With each LP, we seem to be getting closer and closer to that artistic goal, but if we ever got there, I don't quite know what we'd do. I think the summit of Mount Everest must be quite a depressing place.
All the attention that the band is getting, and it's getting mega amounts of attention ever since the tour started. I mean, it's really good for business, but it can be a little alienating, can't it? I mean, is it a good thing for the music?
Well, I don't know, the music starts with the 4 of us in a room on our own, and that's never going to change. So if you believe in the music, then you can believe in it here, you know?
Sure. Is what you're saying that because the success of the band, things like political viewpoints or personal viewpoints are becoming more prominent, and maybe the music is sort of taking a lesser role? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, it seems to be getting that way, to a point that where, you know, everyone's more interested in what you've got to say about this, sure. and instead of you guys operating together as a musical group.
Yeah, I think we're starting to see that as well. Starting to see that people are actually taking you two for one particular thing, be it their political point of view. And what we've been trying to stress is that U2 is not just about one thing or two things, it's about a whole lot of different things. And we don't make music for people to come along to and intellectualize about. We make music for all sorts of different reasons. If somebody wants to come along and just bang their head against the wall because they like the sound of the bass guitar, that's as relevant as anything. And that's important to get across to people, that there's no one area that you two are interested in and such. It's very broad spectrum.
The Stadium Rock is so huge, and there's so many thousands of people in some of the bigger stadiums that you're playing that you have trouble wanting to connect and being at one with the whole audience. Do you think that Stadium Rock has gotten too big?
Sure. Stadium Rock is awful. I mean, we don't particularly like playing stadiums. An awful lot of it is we don't want to be on the road for 7 months. We're musicians, we want to go into the studio. So we had to make some compromises, and it's really difficult. Nobody has ever made stadiums work. We're doing really well. We've got some really good reviews, and we work bloody hard at making it work. But stadium rock is awful. I mean, I think our music is big enough, is bigger than stadiums. I think it is bigger than stadiums, and that it can work. I think it can, and if we didn't believe that it could work, we wouldn't do it. There'd be no point in it because we would fail. What I'm saying is that we have been forced into doing it. We, you know, in the same way as we were forced to do arenas, in the same way as we were forced to do theatres. We were a club band, you know, and each step we've had to take, and our music has filled each one of them. And hopefully, and I believe that our music will fill stadiums, and that
you
we
haven't
can.
fallen into that stadium rock feeling where you've got to have, you know, fireworks and everything else going on. You kept it very a pared-down show. Do you feel like you need to get, I mean, the temptation is to put more stuff on stage, isn't it? To try and surround yourself with a few comforts and a little bit of visuals.
Yeah. A log fire.
A few visual diversions to help fill up.
It may be a temptation, but it isn't for us. We've never really been that big on the pyrotechnics side.
I think people would be really well pissed off if they saw exploding bombs and things
Giant
like
pigs.
giant pigs. Yeah.
I've always liked people who take themselves painfully seriously.